the government's looking to carry out these targeted consultations to look at changing or making changes to the Holidays Act, which has been a shambles, a complex shambles for many years. That's according to the Employers and Manufacturers Association, who have said they are looking forward to working with the government on a fix. They say it's so complex that businesses are struggling to understand their obligations, resulting in ongoing miscalculations and unintentional errors. So the man that works in this area every day is Max Whitehead, the employment relations expert. Good friend of the show. Hello, Max.
Leah, don't put pressure on me, man. I'm feeling terrible here. Cringing under the table.
Come on.
Hiding. Yeah. No, you bring it
Max,
on.
I think the first question, and I did ask this of the Minister of Brook van Velden, why is it so technical? What is currently wrong with the Holidays Act?
The Holidays Act was built years and years and years ago. And in those days, the good old days, as the old fellas would say, well, that's me, would say that people worked 8 till 5. That was the predominant, that was the most of the population worked 8 till 5 in the good old days. And of course, Dolly Parton would agree with that. Well, she was 9 till 5, though. But getting back to it, it was designed for an 8-hour day and a 40-hour week, and that's where the whole thing's calculated. And what the difficulty in our current life is that hardly anybody now works those hours. And it's all over the place. We've got all sorts of employment relationships which can have people working just a couple of days a week, some of them just a few hours. Look, there's even people that work, say, 1 day a month, like for accountants, just the end of the month accounts to be done. And look, some people only work race day. So, there's all sorts of different aspects that come into it. And then how do you calculate, 4 weeks pay? How do you calculate, the relevant daily pay for that person? And how much sick leave do they get? How much? It just gets so complicated because people have varied hours. It really is complicated. And look, I cringe, and that's why I'm hiding under the table, because questions about the Holidays Act, I worked 11 years at EMA, Auckland Employers Association was called then, and I have to answer the callers online, and we used to have a few so-called experts within the ranks to deal with the Holidays Act because it was almost a specialised area. Now we're talking 20 years ago.
Wow.
It's been going on for decades. It's a complete mess.
So, let's first look at the pro rata with sick leave approach. And the minister was saying they're looking to make it proportionate. So why, is somebody that does work maybe a day a week or 10 hours a week still receive the 10-day sick leave when you've got somebody doing 40, 50 hours a week? It's about fair entitlement. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree. Look, take the example I gave you. Somebody goes in and helps an accountant out once a month to do their end-of-month books. That means they work, once a month. That's 12 days in a year. And they're entitled to 10 of those days are off on full pay, paid by the employer. So they could almost have a whole year off taking sick leave or having a sore head in the morning and saying, I'm not coming in, and the employer has to pay it. And not turn up for a year or nearly a year, 3/4 of a year. It's not fair. It's not reasonable. And look, the thing is, things have changed dramatically over the years. Like the old unionists of today, even they look upon us as saying, well, it's only rich people that own businesses. It's not. It's mums and dads. They're real people. And a lot of them are being forced into it through redundancy and have to try and make do, being a sole operator, and then maybe put a staff member on trying to help out the community, but also to help their business out. And they come up with these headaches, and they go, "Whoa, how am I going to work that out?" Then it comes to paying for an accountant specialist, a payroll specialist, and it just gets really, really hard for them.
Could there be a case where, if you're a business, you could just keep part-timers to avoid paying out sick leave, or you know what it sounds a bit treacherous.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably the words casuals, but
Casuals, yes.
yeah. But even they, to get sick leave, you have to be employed for a 6-month period, and so casuals you probably could get through it. It's something that does happen, I think, and. In fact, I can tell you today that most of New Zealand now are employed contractors rather than employees. Why?
Yeah.
Because of the complexities we're talking about. And Brooke's doing a great job here. I don't understand what she's putting, but in principle, it sounds fantastic. It's going to make it simple. Hundreds of thousands of people have been mispaid, and this is going to fix that.
Baz has texted in, Max, and said, isn't it 10 sick days leave for part-timers, but only paid out on how many hours you do in your part-time day?
Yeah, so it's per day. So if a person only did 2 hours a day and they have a day off, well, then they get 2 hours pay. They don't get a full 8 hours. So he's correct in that regard. But they get 10 of them. So if they only work 1 day a week, they got 10 weeks off on sick leave, whereas a person who's does a 40-hour week, he gets the 10 days would only get sort of the time off there. That's 2 weks. So it's in that regard, it's not fair.
I'm confused.
So was I then. I was getting lost. Try again.
Try again.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So a person who works 1 day a week gets 10 days off. That's 10 weeks of leave they could have. They're only working 1 day, that's true, and it's not the money, it's the leave. Whereas a full-time worker only gets 2 weeks, if you like, 10 days. And it's not fair because illnesses, can carry on for quite a while.
All right, John here says he doesn't agree with the changes to sick pay. He works 2 jobs, 30 hours in one and then 10 to 15 in another. One is considered full-time with no extra pay for extra hours. The other is a casual swim instructor job with no sick pay. He says, I rarely get sick, but losing a few days affects me a lot. Instead of changing sick pay, businesses should get tax breaks to boost pay. Oh, John's in a funny situation, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he has, but it's not unusual. So there's 2 different employers, I'd assume, and they would have to be paying him independently. So if he's sick during, say, for a week, then he would get a sick pay from one of his employers. He'd get sick pay from the other one as well. If he's full-time, but, or part-time, what he may be is one of these casuals that they just turn off and on as when required. Now, that gets very complicated too, Leah, because if a person has been a casual and they're working consistently 2 or 3 days a week, they could claim, hey, I'm actually a full-time person. I'm full-time working 2 days a week. And they could take that to the courts and could possibly win it. So I don't know his circumstances.
So this is actually something I wanted to ask you, Max. This isn't to do with what we're talking about now, but it is about employment. If somebody is working in a job that they've been taken on as a contractor, so as a contractor, you're not entitled to redundancy, are you?
No, you're not entitled to any employment laws. So really what you're entitled to is only what you've written, what's been written in the contract.
Right.